welcome to the Little Likac podcast, episode 93. My name's Amanda and I'm coming to you from Derby in the United Kingdom, and this is a knitting and crochet podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Today is a Sunday, the 18th of May 2025, and I'm filming this in my office at the bottom of the garden on about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Today has been a pretty nice day weather-wise. In fact, we've had quite a nice weekend. And yesterday I was actually in a park with some friends knitting for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, which is something that my knit group does during the summer months. We hold a knitting, it's kind of like a knitting in public every month, every 4 weeks or so. in one of our local parks. It's just a very quiet park actually, although we say it's knitting in public, there's not that many other people around. It's a quiet park with free parking and just chilled out. So I was doing that yesterday afternoon, which was lovely, and so I think I got a little bit of colour on my face. Because although it was a bit cold and overcast when I first arrived, I did have a jumper on, a woolly jumper on. At 2 o'clock the sunshine came out, and we've got that again this afternoon. We've got the sun coming out, which is lovely. I spent this morning doing some gardening work. I actually have set up my greenhouse properly, ready for the summer. I have got some tomato plants in there, cucumber plants, chilli plant. I'm just looking at it, I can actually see my greenhouse from here. What else have I got? A pepper plant, chilli plant, aubergine plant, which I've never grown before, so we'll see how that goes. I have got also some lettuce and things like that. So yeah, it's been a really nice morning. Apologies that my hair is still a bit damp, because after I've done the gardening I then had a shower, etc., and I don't blow dry my hair, I just let it dry naturally, because I'm very lazy in general and very lazy with my hair. Right, what have I got for you this weekend? I have got 3 finished objects to show you, some good progress on some whips, an acquisition that I forgot to mention last podcast. This was gifted to me. And also another acquisition for a possible cast on. And in fact we're going to kind of take a little, not a vote, I'm going to sort of kind of spin the wheel to decide on whether to cast on that project this month or not. We'll do that later on in the show. I love it when I say show, but hey, people say show notes and stuff. Okay, also just very quick update on the winner from the March make along thread for the Socksy and You Know It thread has not been in contact with me yet. So if you entered a pair of socks onto Ravelry or sent it to me to enter on Ravelry for you for the Socksy and You Know It make along for the March socks, you might want to check out episode 92, because I did pull a winner from in that podcast from the thread, and you need to get in touch with me so I can send you that skein of yarn. If nobody contacts me by the time I podcast next, and we'll talk about that later, because there may be a 3 or 4 week break. But anyway, if nobody's been in touch with me, if the winner hasn't been in touch with me by then I will draw it again. Right, okay, what shall we start with? Let's start with finished items. So the first one, I had actually finished this the last time I podcast, but it was literally on the blocking mats while I was filming. Oh, and I have also just got to say, very, very welcome if you are a new viewer. I had a lot of viewers on the last podcast, not quite sure why that one suddenly became much more popular, but we had probably about 400 or 500 more views on that video than I usually get, and we've had an increase in subscribers. Now some of that may be 12 and 13-year-olds, because at school in the last few weeks some students have found my podcast, which happens every year, and they seem to insist on telling me they found my podcast and, oh, I've subscribed, miss. So I doubt very many of them actually watch, because although I have had more subscribers, I have also had more views. So anyway, if you are a student at my school, hello, welcome, and you know, if you want to sit and watch stuff about knitting and crochet. And I do know that we do have some youngsters who knit and crochet, which is absolutely amazing, but I can't imagine they want to watch what I'm knitting and crocheting. Anyway, so thank you very much if you're a new subscriber. I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and please stick around. This will be a shorter podcast, although quite a few of you commented last week or last time saying you really didn't mind the fact it was such a marathon one. So that's good to know. So let us get on with what I've been doing. So yes, so this hat was literally on the blocking mats, so you didn't get to see it, and it is a shawl that I was working on, a pretty one skein shawl, and I am very pleased with it. So it has been blocked, and I've woven in the ends. Yay! Even though I've blocked it, it's a little bit funny at that bit there. We also have a fly in the office, typical. This pattern is called the Sugared Violets Shawl pattern. It is designed for one skein, or there is a larger version if you want to add more. Now what I did was I used a full 100 gram skein, and then, well, I didn't use even actually the full skein. I think I used about 85 grams of 100 grams, and then I used about 10 grams of a coordinating mini. Now this set was, let's hold it over here. This set was actually the Mother's Day set for the little Likac yarn. I'm also going to be honest and say I messed up a little bit. I should have had more stocking stitch rows in between the eyelet rows, so I added more stocking stitch rows in there. I think I also made a bit of a mistake on the lace bit here, but you know what, I figured you couldn't really tell, so I just kept going rather than ripping back, because ripping back lace can be really tricky, and it didn't seem to me a pattern where it was really obvious that I had messed up, so I didn't worry about that too much. And then I added an extra row of eyelets and then a few rows of garter, and it's finished. So it's really pretty. I used the sparkle sock yarn, so it's 75% merino, 15% nylon and 10% stellina. It is really pretty, and it's perfect actually for potentially like days like today where the sun keeps going in and out behind the clouds. It cools off, warms up, cools off, warms up. So let's just put it round. So it's super pretty, or super pretty. Yellow isn't a colour I wear very much of, but I do think I think it looks lovely, so very pleased with that. So that's my first finished object, technically finished before the most recent podcast, previous podcast, but as I say, it was still blocking. I'll leave that on that for now till I get too warm. Okay, second finished object, it's just a very small thing. It was a new cast on. In fact, actually the next two finished objects I've got to show you were new cast ons last podcast. So the first one, I cast this on 3 weeks ago at a steeking workshop that I went to, and it is in fact a mug cozy, and I'm quite annoyed that I've forgotten to bring down a mug. I'm just checking. I doubt my husband has left a mug down here. He's just not that kind of person who leaves mugs around. That's me. Yeah, there is a mug over there, but it's full of various tools and things. Yeah, no, can't see. Anyway, so I will put a couple of pictures up though of it being in use. I will put a couple of pictures of it in use wrapped around a mug. So here it is. Ta-da! Ta-da! And then do you want to see the steek? If you don't know what steeking is, it is where you actually deliberately cut your knitting and make a hole in it and do it in a way so that it doesn't all come apart. So the steek for the mug cozy is where you put the mug handle. And there it is. Yeah. Now I did bodge up, make a little bit of a bodge there. I should have, when I picked up the stitches, I should have joined those together and I forgot. I think I also made a little mistake as well when I was finishing off the steek in here. I should have over sewn that, and I didn't. I kind of used the crochet bit, but anyway, I think it's going to hold. So it was my practice steek. There's the inside of my colour work. That actually looks quite neat, doesn't it? The only thing I'm not happy about is, for some bizarre reason, my cast off has got these holy bits. I even went back and undid the cast off and cast it off again, and I've still got these loopy bits, and I'm just not quite sure why. That's nothing to do with the steeking. Just not quite sure what I did there. Anyway, so the cast off has got, can you see, these bits sticking up. I just don't know why. I thought maybe it would block out, they would block out, and they didn't, because I did block it as well. I blocked it on the mug actually, I think. So yes, this is knitted with Baram U colour work, which is quite similar to Jameson and Smith. It's kind of 4-ply weight or fingering weight yarn, particularly designed for colour work. Comes in 25-gram balls. These two colours, the purple and silver, what were they called? Bear with, because I've brought my phone down, and I'm fairly sure I did put it on to my project notes. Yeah, so the two colours I used was Crucible, which I think is the silver grey colour, and Bishopthorpe, which is like the dark purple colour. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it was great for practicing that steeking. As I say, just a bit annoyed with myself that when I sewed in the ends, I didn't join that bit there. Never mind. Anyway, project number 2, finished object number 2, done, off the needles. So hold it there in case it decides to catch. Right. Okay. And then third finished object, there's that fly. Third finished object is a sweater that I have done in 2 weeks. Yes, I have. 2 weeks or 3 weeks? 2 weeks. Yes. Finished a sweater in 2 weeks. And you know why? Because it's a toddler size. Okay, so this is the Flax Sweater by Tin Can Knits. This is the worsted weight flax sweater. It is a free pattern, and I talked last podcast about using the Tin Can Knits free app for the first time, and thank you, a couple of people left lovely comments offering advice on how I could use Knit Companion and the Tin Can Knits app. So somebody suggested like taking screenshots and then putting it across into Knit Companion. Somebody also said about there is a way as well to save your place, because I was saying that I was finding it frustrating. I had to keep scrolling down. So thank you very, very much for the different ideas there. That was really, really helpful. Obviously this was quite a small project anyway, so it wasn't like I had to do a lot of scrolling to find the right place. So yes, last time you saw this, all I had done was just the first, I literally cast it on and done about 3 or 4 rows of rib for the neckline. I left a stitch marker in there so I could see where I show you where I'd got to. Here it is finished. Now I haven't blocked it because it is acrylic, so it won't really block anyway. You can see we have the garter ridge over there. So it has a garter ridge that goes down the side of the sleeves from the neck all the way down. I did do that. It has a little bit of rib. Oh, let's just turn that round. Look at my little gorgeous little dormouse, progress keeper. Got that from Siobhan's Crafts. Just a few rows of rib at the front. Rib at the end of each arm and around the bottom. It is designed to be reversible so that if you, there's no short row shaping, and you can put short row shaping in, but the designer actually suggests on baby sizes not to put the short row shaping in, make it reversible, so then if you get a stain or something like that, you can just swap it round, or if baby you know sticks up on it like they do, and you're out and about, you can just swap it round. I thought that was a really cute little idea. So yeah, so it's totally reversible. Now I held together 2 yarns, which is why it's kind of got this mould effect, and the 2 yarns I held together was Sirdar Snuggly, and again, if you're a regular viewer, you will potentially remember that this time last year I ordered a whole load of Sirdar Snuggly, and it was kind of seconds quality. So these are both, in theory, Sirdar Snuggly DK, but they're not. This one is definitely much thinner than that one. That one's more like a sport weight. It's still thinner than DK, and that one's more like almost 4-ply. So I held the 2 together and checked gauge. Yes, I did, get me. Held the 2 together, got gauge perfectly for that worsted weight, and knitted it up together. Now it's hard to say how much I've used because I didn't weigh the balls beforehand, and as I say, these are seconds, so it's possible they're slightly under or slightly over, and you can't guarantee that the meterage is correct either. But I used a whole ball of both, and then this is what I've got left of the second ball of each. Knitted it on 4.5mm needles. I can't remember if that's what the pattern said, but again, that's the needle that I got gauged. So 4mm for the ribbing and 4.5mm for the stocking stitch. I think that might actually be a needle size lower. It might have been that was supposed to be 4.5 and 5mm, but that's what I got gauge on. So really pleased with it. Now, in terms of meterage for my stash busting spreadsheet, what I did was I looked to see how many meters it said you would use for that size, which was 310 meters. And then I doubled that because obviously I've got 2 strands. So I counted it as 620 meters. So yeah, that was just based on, based that on what the pattern said it would take, because I can't be accurate on measuring this, because as I say, they're both supposed to be DK and they are quite clearly different thicknesses, so therefore, and would obviously be different meterage because, not surprisingly, because the darker blue is thicker, I got to the end of the first ball of the darker blue before I got to the end of the lighter blue. So yeah, I've just calculated it. I think I maybe even put 600 rather than 620 meters. So I am very pleased with it. When I first started knitting it, I was not 100% sure. I liked how you'd got the splotches of colour, but once I got a bit further in, and sometimes as well when you're looking at your knitting close up, you don't always get the full effect. So once I'd kind of knitted a bit further on it and then sort of held it away from me, I was kind of like, I do like that actually. So yeah, I think I prefer that side. So very pleased with that. I have knitted the 18 to 24 month size. It is a gift for a colleague at work. So we are collecting bits together. So I'm going to be taking that into work this week. Yay! So really pleased to have got that one finished, and obviously as I say, it only took me 2 weeks to do. I think that's it, all the finished items. Just having a look. Yes, those are the 3 finished items. That's not bad though. Well, I say 3 finished, 2 finished objects in the last couple of weeks, but I've made really good progress on some other bits. So let's show you the Flourish socks. So this again was a new cast on 2 weeks ago, and this is part of the Helen Stewart Curious Handmade is her kind of business name, part of her make along that she does. Well, she hasn't done one for a couple of years, but every so often she does a big she releases a big what's the word I want, collection of sock patterns. But she releases them one at a time over 6 months. So you buy the full collection and you get a good discount if you buy them before any of them are released. I think it's about £15 for the full collection now. If you bought them before they were released, it was only about £10, so you know, about a third off. And I had this pattern, or this collection of patterns, gifted to me, which I'm just going to say again, massive thank you. So lovely. It's just so lovely when a viewer or another person just randomly buys the pattern for you, something that you wanted to make. So I'm going to say thank you again to that person, even though I'm not sure that they are a viewer. The yarn I'm using for this is my... Ooh, that was a loud clunk, wasn't it? The yarn I'm using for this is, again, a little Likac one. This was a Mystery Club one from 2022. It has got a few speckles on it. It is mostly sort of pinky red, got a little bit of grey splashes on it and some red speckles. It's knitting up beautifully. I am just going to get a sock blocker off the pile. Hang on a minute. My husband has been really busy making new stock of things, actually, so there's a pile of sock blockers down there because later on, after I've shown all the knitting, I'll tell you about some of the shows we've got coming up. We've got a couple of big shows coming up, not till September, October time, but my husband was like, I'll start stocking up, bless him. So let me show you the Flourish sock on a sock blocker. There we go. Now, as I say, when you saw this 2 weeks ago, I had just done the ribbing and nothing else. And it's a 1x1 twisted rib, which is not my favourite to do, but it does always look so pretty. Another one of the Alice in Wonderland stitch markers there. And yes, the lace pattern, it did take me a while to get the lace pattern established in my head, but the way that Helen Stewart writes out her patterns, it's so easy to follow and so easy to keep track. She does it in a grid fashion so you can tick off each row. So her patterns are very well written. And this kind of almost looks like a little bit like a cable. It's not cable. It's a slightly unusual stitch. Again, there are full instructions on how to do that. Really like how the yarn has knitted up. It's actually very, very similar to the yarn that Helen Stewart had put out for the sock that she had knitted. Very sort of similar colourway, which is why I picked this out of my stash, because I thought, oh, I've got something very similar to that. Just keep holding that there because it's so adorable. So I'm going to take that off of here now and put it on to the second sock. Have got the second sock started. I don't usually suffer from second sock syndrome because usually I try to, as soon as I've cast off and grafted the toe on one sock, I try to cast the second sock on that same day if I can, or certainly within a day or two, because the procrastination is always usually the casting off. So yeah, really like it. I can't really show you very easily how. Well, let me show you how the lace looks as it would look kind of on your foot or leg by showing you like that on my arm, which is a bit weird holding it like that, but so pretty. Really pleased with it. So let me show you where have I just sometimes right, that's where I put that bag. So the second sock is cast on, and the first however many numbers of repeats of the pattern is completed. So what have I done? Maybe half the leg. Is quite a long leg, and actually I did cut the number of repeats. I should have done 2 more repeats of lace, and I just thought this leg is longer than I usually do anyway, that'll do me. So yeah, I'm probably about halfway down the leg, aren't I? Now I would like to get that finished by the end of this week. Today is Sunday. Should be able to do that. Should be able to keep working on it. Should be able to get that finished by the end of this week. So let's put Progress Keeper to show where I have got up to, and fingers crossed I will be showing this as a finished object the next time I podcast. I'm knitting them, sorry, I'm knitting these on 2.25mm needles, Knit Pro Zing. I was going to say Knit Pro Symphony, but they're not. Knit Pro Zing 2.25mm needles. So yeah, they should be finished. I want to try to keep up with the sock along if I can. The next pair of socks in the set will be released on the 5th of June. So, you know, in theory, I've got up till the 5th of June to complete those before the next one lands, but I would like to get them finished before the end of this week because I've got another pair of socks on the needles that I'll show you in a minute that I want to complete this month. And I am toying with casting on another pair. We'll talk about those later though. Right, let me show you another pair of socks though that have a much longer deadline. These are, I've named these my Slimming World socks. These are the socks that I am knitting for my Slimming World consultant, group leader, asked me to knit a pair of socks for the Christmas raffle. She did offer to pay. I told her not to worry, especially as the yarn I'm using is a very cheap sock yarn, and you know, so I really wasn't worried. I started these a few weeks ago. I only knit on them when I am sitting in the Slimming World group, which is usually for about an hour and a quarter on a Saturday morning. I think this will then be 3 groups that I've worked on these because there was one group where 1 week where I didn't stay. So I think this is 3 weeks progress. Now bear in mind that these are for a Christmas raffle. I think these are knitting up rather fabulously. I did wind off the yarn at the beginning to so I could start it right at the beginning of the full red repeat, and I pretty much just did enough of the ribbing to get to the gold. It looks like I've done a couple of rows of rib in that first colour change. The yarn that I am using has no wool content in it. Now that was partly I decided to use this in case, because this is going for a raffle, just because some people might have wool allergies or not like the feeling of wool. These have got a much sort of softer feel to them, no wool content, and I had this in my stash. I bought it originally I think to knit my mum a pair of socks and decided to use it for this. It is King Cole Footsie, and this colourway is called Christmas Fruit, which again I thought was perfect given the fact that it's going to be going into a Christmas raffle. It was very reasonably priced. When I bought this, it was only £3.99 a ball. I think it's only £4 something now. So it's very reasonably priced. It is 100 grams and 430 metres. It is completely machine washable. It is tumble dryable. It is 93% acrylic, 7% PBT. It does feel quite stretchy. So yeah, the only thing is I'm not quite sure what size I'm going to knit. I think I'm going to knit it just to fit my sort of size, because originally I said in group that I was going to knit it for about a size 5 or 6, and lots of the women kind of went, oh no. So it seems to me there's quite a lot of women there who've got larger feet than that, so I'm actually going to knit it maybe for more like a size 7. Obviously anyway, there's a bit of stretch to it anyway. I'm doing 2x2 rib. I am knitting it on Knit Pro Symphony, I think 2.25mm needles, 64 stitches. Let's just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 4, yeah, 6. So I've got 64 stitches, so I'm probably using 2.25mm needles. So yeah, so I think that is 3 groups. So it looks like it's basically going to be a section per meeting. I usually do a 6-inch leg, and I measure that just using the needle, the double pointed needle. So I think another group I will get to the end of the leg, and then another group I will probably do the heel flap, etc. So and it's been quite nice because everybody in group can see me working on them. So I won't show these again for a little while, perhaps after I've done the heel flap and gusset. I might show it then. So that's in, I suppose, what's supposed to be a makeup bag that I got when I went to see Heather's the musical. Did I go see that last year or the year before? Can't remember now. I think it was last year. Took Amelia, my youngest daughter, mascara, maybe some lip gloss, and we're on our way. It is a line from the show. But I bought that bag thinking it would make quite a good little project bag. So another thing that I have been working on for the last couple of weeks, again, this was a new cast on 2 weeks ago, so I'm really pleased with the progress I've made on this. This is a test knit for the lovely Kelly Menzies, who's also known as Roro and Kate. She is a lovely knitwear designer. She designs for some magazines, including the Knitter magazine. She's had a few patterns published in there now as well. And she self-publishes as well, so there's lots of her patterns available on Ravelry. Really recommend having a look, checking her out. She designs some lovely patterns. And this is a summer tee, a short sleeve tee. I say summer, it's because it's not lacy, it is knitted in 4-ply fingering weight. I actually think this will be a good sort of spring or autumn rather than necessarily summer. She's going to be releasing this, I think, in summer, so it would be a really good one for you to knit, perhaps to wear for autumn. So when I cast this on, 2 weeks ago, literally I had just done a few rows of it, and then I discovered I hadn't swatched properly, etc. So I ended up recasting it on, and when you saw it, I had just done the first section of rib. But this is how much I've got done now. So these progress keepers today are all determined to sit the other way around. This one is Alice's dress. There we go. So let me hold it this way. So yes, I have done nearly the whole yoke. I will be splitting for sleeves, I believe, the next bit of the pattern. I have just got a few more rows of plain stocking stitch to do before we get to that. So I don't know how well you can see this pattern. This is the yoke. It has these sections of rib and then a few rows of garter stitch between each one. Now I am knitting this in a truly hooked yarn. It is her standard sock yarn, 4-ply, 75 merino, 25% nylon. Now I got 3 balls of this at a show in her bargain bucket, and they were all described as one of a kind. And there was one skein that was obviously the same, I would say probably had been in the same pattern, was the same colour, but had much less variation. It didn't have any real sort of patches of undyed. And then there were 2 skeins that were very similar, little bit lighter, had some parts perhaps where the dye hadn't taken fully, and some parts even where the dye had split. So what I decided to do was do the yoke, all that rib section, and that kind of broken rib, do all of that in the one skein that was definitely slightly darker, and then when I got to the section after that, the plain stocking stitch, move on to the very slightly lighter one and slightly more variegated. So if I hold it up there, you can see the difference, but I wanted to make it look like it was deliberate, and it is deliberate. I have chosen to do it, so I decided that's how I was going to do that. So you can definitely see you've got much more variegation, although that is the odd little bit of variegation in that bit. There's a lot more, but I think it's going to look absolutely fine, work out really nicely, so I'm quite happy with that. So the 2 skeins like this, I opened them both up, I looked at them and I thought they both look really, really similar, so I'm not stressing about alternating them. So yes, I have just got about another 6 or 7 rows of plain stocking stitch, and then I will be splitting off all the sleeves. I am doing the 4th size for this, and that's what it's going to look like. This obviously won't be so tight up around my neck. Right here. So really pleased with how this is knitting up. It will be stretched out a lot more, and yes, that's how it's going to look. Now I cannot pronounce the name of this. Athenaeum, I think it is. I think it is the Athenaeum tea. But oh, look at that, absolutely lovely. But yeah, I'm really pleased I kind of went with that change there, because if I had done that, if I had carried on with the darker and then started that just randomly, you know, 3 or 4 inches down the body, I think it would look strange. But the fact that it's straight after that, all that rib section, it is going to look, like I say, like it is deliberate. So I'm knitting this on 3mm needles. I had to use 3mm needles to get gauge. It is 4-ply / fingering. There are a lot of stitches on the needle. There's no more, as far as I know anyway, there's no more increases now. And as I say, I will then be splitting for sleeves this week. And that'll be great, because I will have that then just into the stocking stitch, working round and round on the body. And that can just be quite a mindless project, hopefully, to work on for a few weeks. So I'm just going to move the progress keeper so that we remember next time you see it where I got to. Right, let's pop that away. Got quite a long time still to go on that test knit. It's not, the deadline isn't till July. Obviously if I get it finished before then, that's absolutely great. I would like to say I'll have it finished by the end of June. But I say I've still got 7 weeks. So I've worked on that for 2 weeks. Where are we now? I've still got 2 months. I've still got effectively probably 8 weeks, so I should be fine with that. What I'll do, once I've split the seams, I'll double check kind of the schematics to see how much length I've got to knit. And then I'll split it down. So I need to do so many inches per week, and I'll probably even then split that down even further and sort of work out how many inches per day to make sure I make that deadline. Almost like as a minimum I need to knit this amount each day to make sure I meet the deadline for Kelly. Yeah. Okay, so oh no, they're not the main. There's one more to show you on WIP then for this last couple of weeks. And that is the Socksy and You Know It socks for myself for this month. So this is my make along that I'm running. And last time I showed this to you, I had just cast on and done about 2 or 3 rows of the rib. And it is the Brenda colourway from West Yorkshire Spinners. Absolutely love it. So it's West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply signature, or signature 4-ply, in the colourway Brenda, which is one of the Yarndale colours. It's great fun. I have done a little bit on this, but my main priority has been working on the Flourish socks, but I wanted to get the first kind of repeat of all the colours done so I could look and actually see what it looked like, how it's striping. And hang on, let me just, there we go. These are lovely. These will be great autumnal socks. I plan to wear these at Yarndale this year. So you can see Progress Keeper, again, it's one of the Siobhan's crafts. Alice in Wonderland ones. I am going to move that now. And I will wear these at Yarndale this year. And let me just tell you something else now about Yarndale. A couple of you worked this out from the clues I gave on a previous podcast. I am going to be exhibiting at Yarndale this year. Cannot tell you how excited I am about this. I have been visiting Yarndale. I've gone to Yarndale for about the last 3 years in a row. Maybe 2 years, 3 years I think. Yeah, 3 years. And I am so excited to be going again this year, but this time as a vendor. Yarndale is one of the biggest yarn shows in the UK. I felt a bit intimidated about applying to actually exhibit there. I kind of felt like it was out of my league, and I don't know, just felt a bit intimidated by the process. But this year I plucked up the courage to apply and they took me. So I'm really, really thrilled about that. I think people don't always realise that you know, these yarn shows, you have to apply, and they don't take everybody who applies. So you have to sort of almost, well, you have to sell yourself and convince them that you are worthy of being at their yarn show. So yeah, I'm really, really thrilled to be at Yarndale. In fact, I've got 3 more shows coming up, so I will tell you about those in just a second. Let's just finish talking about these socks, and then I'll tell you about the 3 yarn shows that I've got coming up for the rest of this year. I don't really feel the need to apply to any more for this year as well, because I think that's going to be my limit. So, so yes, this is the Brenda yarn from Yarndale. I am knitting these on 2.5mm needles. These are Knit Pro Zing. They use different colour. Knit Pro Zing are great. There's a different colour needle for each size, so you don't have to use a needle gauge or whatever, or double check. And also, it clearly says on them 2.5mm, but you can just at a glance know that you've got a set of them. You haven't got to double check. Yeah, 2x2 rib at the start, and then this will just be a vanilla sock, leg 6 inches, and heel flap and gusset. And I'd like to get these finished by the end of May, but I am conscious we are now on the 18th, and that's all I've got done of the first sock. But if anyone can do it, I can do it. No, I'm not as crazy fast a knitter as like the crazy sock lady. She gets a pair of socks knitted in a couple of days. I'm not up to that, but I'm hoping I will get the Flourish pair finished by the end of the week, sort of like by the 24th, and then that will still give me a full week to finish this pair. A full week to finish 1.5 socks. Could do it. Could do it. I need to crack on. Okay. Oh, let's put Mr. Knit. Can you imagine? I would have wandered off, forgotten where this needle was, gone to carry on knitting, and then been really annoyed. So let's make sure everything's away. So those are the main projects I have been working on. In fact, they are all the projects I have been working on over the last couple of weeks. Now, let's just talk about acquisitions. Okay, so one of these acquisitions I had last time and forgot about it. This is not a yarn I've chosen for myself. This is not a yarn I have bought. This is a yarn that my mum gave me. It was quite funny. We were looking in my mum's stash for some yarn for my daughter Eloise, for her to knit or crochet a blanket for her gran. And my mum was like, yes, I'm sure I've got some acrylic that you can use. So we were busy sort of rummaging through that. And my mum just kind of turned around and went, and like, hold on to this. And she went, and she passed me, I'll show you in a second, this pack of yarn and said, I want you to knit me a hat, please. A hat and a scarf for when I'm on the market. Okay, I don't need it till the winter. Can you do that for me? And I was just stood there holding this yarn going, yeah, okay, Mum. Yeah, I can do that for you. So this is what she gave. My mum is allergic to wool. She would have bought this to knit for babies, but she said it's too shiny for baby boys, and it's blue, so she was kind of like, it's too shiny, and yeah. So this is what she's given me. She's given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls of it. So it's a Signet yarn. It's called Silkaress DK. It is very silky. It is a very soft, silky yarn. It is DK, but it looks quite a thin DK. It's 100 grams, and this colour is 2723, which is sherbet, and it's 250 metres. Now, my plan is to do the hat for her first, and then whatever I've got left, I can just make the scarf as long as possible. Did I say it's 100% acrylic? 100% anti-pilling acrylic. So yes, I've picked out a hat pattern. I went and looked at what I had got, and I've picked out a Helen Stewart pattern. Now, my mum said beanie, so I will double check with her that she likes the pattern I've picked. It is a Helen Stewart pattern from one of her Knit Vent collections from a few years ago. Just bear with me a second, because I've made a note of it on my Ravelry, so I think I've potentially put it into my queue. Okay, I made a note of it on my phone where I've got like a whole list of things. Mum's hat, right, so it's the Montage Sock by Helen Stewart. So I will put a picture of it up here. So it's the Montage hat, and it's from Knit Vent 2021. Now, she's got it here with a bobble on it. I'll ask my mum if she wants a bobble on it or not. So there we go. There's the Montage hat, but I thought I would get the hat done first, and then I may put that same pattern into the scarf, or put a section of that pattern into the scarf as well. I'll just have to make up the scarf as I go along. We'll sort of see how much yarn it takes. There's another example of it here, somebody wearing it. So my mum said a beanie. Do you think that counts as a beanie? I'm hoping so, because part of me doesn't want to show it to her because I want it to be a surprise. It says it takes 150 metres for an adult size hat. I asked my mum to measure, my mum, 56 centimetres. What's my mum's? My mum's 58, 60, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the medium adult size. So that'll take 150 metres, so it'll still give me 1,100 metres, which should be enough for a scarf. I don't know, I never knit scarves. Anybody knit scarves? 1,100 metres is going to be enough? Let's hope so anyway. So that's a request from my mum. I'm going to try and do it for her birthday. Her birthday's the middle of September, but certainly get it done at least anyway by the time the colder weather comes, sort of like by the end of October. So it's not urgent to get it cast on soon, but having said that, you know, a scarf is going to be boring. But she's requested it and she's given me the yarn for it, so I need to do it. Now, adding that into my stash spreadsheet really has kind of killed my statistics for this month. Thanks, Mum. So I guess the quicker as well I get that knitted and get it out, the better. Okay, so then lastly, another acquisition. So I mentioned Kelly from Roro and Cade's, and I had been participating in her sock along. So I did the Storm Seeker socks in January, and I did the dusting of frost socks in March, April. Her May-June sock pattern is the Daedalus pattern, and I didn't have that pattern, and I didn't intend on buying it, but I did. And I thought that the Silent Night, which I had already got in my stash, could be a really nice darker colour to use. But then I had to buy a contrasting colour, and I just went with the white. I had a look and chose, but I think it's going to look really lovely with the white. So this is Signature 4-ply, West Yorkshire Spinner, Signature 4-ply in the colourway Marshmallow, which is pretty much white. I don't think it's cream. I think it is white. And then this is their sparkle one, Silent Night. It was a Christmas one a few years ago. Now it doesn't stripe. It's more sort of variegated rather than stripe. So I think those two are going to look really lovely. But I cannot decide whether to cast that on or to try and finish another whip by the end of May. So we're going to use an app that I've got, which is just called, I think it's just called Spin. What's it called? Spin the Wheel. And on the Spin the Wheel app, one of the wheels, it has lots of, I've got lots of wheels that I've added to it, including which project I should work on, which blanket I should work on, etc. And I do use it sometimes when I kind of almost like I've had a busy day at work and I have 4 or 5 projects and which one should I work on. So sometimes I spin the wheel to decide which one to work on. So we're going to do just a yes no. Should I cast on the Daedalus socks by the end of May? And we are literally just going to use a yes no. If the answer is yes, that's what we'll do, we'll cast them on. If the answer is no, then I am going to pull out one of my whips, the Fungus, Professor Fungus gnome, and work on that. So if the answer is no, Professor Fungus will get worked on and hopefully finished by the end of May. If the answer is yes, then the Daedalus socks get cast on. Are we ready? Okay, the wheel has spoken. We will cast on the Daedalus socks. Can't argue with it. Okay. I think that's all I've got to show you. Let me just quickly tell you about the other 2 yarn shows then that I'm going to be exhibiting at. So the next one is August the 16th, which happens to be my birthday. And it is at the Wirral, or no, is it called the Wirral? Or just Wirral? It is the Wirral, isn't it? It's at the Wirral, south of Liverpool, on August the 16th. It is called the Pop-Up Wool Show. It is just one day only. It is held at a place called Hume Hall in Bebbington in the Wirral. So if you are local to that area at all, please come along, get your tickets. Tickets I think are only £4. The Pop-Up Wool Show it's called. It's organised by the Yarndale Coastal Colours. That's the organiser, so they'll definitely be there. I'll definitely be there, and there's quite a few other people. I'm trying to think. Jo from Piccadilly, I'm fairly sure she's going to be there. Trying to think which other yarn dyers I know are going to be. I don't know. I can't remember. So anyway, that's in August. That's the next one. Then we've got Yarndale. So excited for that. I've got four. Yarndale. Then I've just been told that I'm got into Stafford Wool Gathering. Now that's the same business. They organise Buxton Wool Gathering, Cumbria Wool Gathering, and they used to do Bakewell, but they were having problems with the space at Bakewell. So the Bakewell one has now become the Stafford one. It's being held at the Staffordshire Showground, which is just outside Stafford. So it's a really great place. It's got masses of room. So there's going to be loads of stalls at that one. So that's Staffordshire. And that is going to be around about the middle of October. I'm trying to remember the dates. Is it the 20th and 21st of October potentially? I know I haven't got a lot of time. I think it's about 3 weeks after Yarndale. So Yarndale, 27th, 28th of September. That's in Skipton in Yorkshire. And then Staffordshire is more Midlands area. And so that is, yeah, about the 19th, 20th of October, thereabouts. And then about 2 weeks after that, I've got a brand new one down in the south east in Kent, and that's at Whitstable, and it's called the Worcester Wool, yarn show, and that's brand new this year. So it's great because I'm going to be up in Yorkshire. Well, I'm going to be up in Liverpool, then across in Yorkshire, then in Staffordshire, and then down in Kent. And earlier this year I did Blackpool, and I did the Sodbury yarn over, which is in the southwest. So I feel like I will have covered quite a lot of the country this year, which is fabulous. I haven't applied to any in Scotland. That's just so far for me to travel. Very, very difficult for me to consider a Scottish one the way things are at the moment. But you never know. It may happen at some point. So yes, that will be 6 yarn shows this year, and it feels like it will have covered quite a large area of the country, which is fab. So yes, if you're going to be in any of those areas, then please do consider those yarn shows. And obviously, if you do go to any of those yarn shows, come and say hello. And that is it. I'm going to finish now. I can't say for certain when the next podcast is going to be. I am hoping I will do one in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I am now going into exam marking time. So as if you are a regular viewer, you know that not only is it a case that I'm very, very busy with exam marking, but my brain becomes very full. So do look out for the advents for Little Likac. Will be launched at the beginning of July, and I will try and put up some mood boards and things like that coming from like the middle of June. But yes, actual podcasts, what happens sometimes is I film a podcast, but then I don't even have the headspace to edit it. So there may be 1 or 2 podcasts that are just very brief and badly put together and not very well edited. Not that the editing's anything special anyway, but I do try and cut out some of the pauses and me going, what's going on? What am I trying to remember? I do actually cut out a lot of that. I know that some of it gets left in, but trust me, a lot gets cut out. And if the dog starts barking, which he's been so good, he has been sat at my feet all the way through this podcast and been so well behaved today, bless him. So anyway, hopefully I will see you in a few weeks' time and try and get a podcast up. Otherwise, I will see you on the other side of the exam marking. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.